If you are ready to bounce back from waves of grief rather than backslide in your healing, then this training is for you. So we know that grief takes our energy. It takes up a lot of energy, and it often comes in waves, very often unpredictable waves. So many of you already know this. You've dedicated yourselves to self-care, to getting exercise, and getting good, healthy sleep. All those healing things. But every time an intense wave of grief hits, also known as a grief burst, it feels like you're starting all over again. I know we've all been there. I know I have. And some of you are even going to therapy every week. But when these grief bursts hit, it feels like everything you worked on doesn't matter. So today I'm going to talk to you about how to bounce back from these grief bursts or grief waves instead of backsliding, okay? It's really changed how I now move through my own grief and how the clients I work with move through grief. So before I get started, let me quickly introduce myself to those of you that don't know me. My name is Diane Bonilla. I'm a grief transformation coach, a seasoned mental health therapist, almost 30 years now, and a master practitioner of hypnotherapy and neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP. So what I do is I help women break through their grief experiences with relationship and life stage losses or changes. And those things are often referred to as ambiguous grief. My clients are people who are ready to put the work in to connect to hope, emotional liberation, and a meaningful new purpose, so they feel the joy and the magic they deserve in their new lives. I'm also a wife. I'm a mom of 2 amazing Gen Z adults and a very proud mama of our almost 15-year-old beagle, Brody. He has his birthday next month, and we're all very excited to celebrate that. So I want to call you all to this important message, and that is, after this training, if you feel ready to do what it takes to ensure you bounce back rather than backslide in your healing, then I want you to know I'm offering a complimentary 30-minute grief breakthrough strategy call. I'll post a calendar link in this replay of this training. So let's dive in right now to this training. The first thing to understand is that grief bursts are normal. They are intense bursts of intense emotions. And anyone who's experienced loss will experience these. They're, as I said, unpredictable, and they can cause us to regress, to doubt ourselves. They can undo much of the work that we put in to heal. The problem is, many people are unprepared for these episodes because they aren't dedicating themselves to strengthening their resilience as part of their healing plan. That is the key here and the point of this whole training. Without a resilient mindset, grief can trigger limiting beliefs, negative stories, and anxiety about the future. It can lead to thought spirals, and those are no fun. So let's take my client Emma, for example. She was facing intense, ambiguous grief, dealing with a chronically ill family member who wasn't really getting any better. So to support herself, she was exercising, she was walking regularly, she dabbled in some yoga, and she was taking special care of herself, focusing on healthy eating. And she was seeing a therapist also. And finally, she also made sure to get out and be social, instead of isolating. So these are all great things. But by the time she came to me, she was pretty discouraged. She was a committed person, the type that doesn't quit. She saw things through. That was just her nature. But it was getting tough for her because every time a grief wave hit, she questioned herself. She judged herself, and she felt anxious, like that this just would never end. And she had a limiting belief that she just wasn't good enough or worthy of success in her life every time these bursts of grief hit. And she really felt herself backsliding and feeling stuck despite all the stuff that she was doing to help herself heal. So I want you to know that grief will do that to you. It will trigger limiting beliefs. In the strongest of us, it will trigger harsh judgment of ourselves or even intense self-doubt. So how do we bounce back instead of backslide? Well, I want you to know the truth is that everyone, including my client, Emma, has this capacity to be resilient and can strengthen their mindset enough so that limiting beliefs don't hold power over us. Just like a muscle, mindset and the capacity to be resilient need a regular workout, okay? The strengthening process or the workout is what I call resiliency programming. This is what enabled me to navigate my own loss and live the life I love without backsliding in my healing journey. Resiliency programming has also helped my clients. It's helped them strengthen their mindset so that limiting beliefs don't get them off track. My clients learn to retrain or rewire, is another name for that, their unconscious mind so that they're ready to impactfully respond to the limiting beliefs. They have fewer of them and they emerge hopeful and less anxious. And who doesn't want that, right? They're ready to keep moving forward and they learn to embody a resilient mindset. So resiliency programming, just to tell you a little bit more about it, it has 3 mechanisms that I use. NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, hypnotherapy, and guided meditation. These are incredibly powerful tools that should be part of really every grief healing plan. It's just, unfortunately, it's not. And it's important because it's what strengthens resilience. We need resilience in order to cope with grief. Grief is tough. We need these tools to respond to it. So these mechanisms that I just mentioned, they work through the unconscious mind, the subconscious mind, by bypassing our conscious mind. And just so you understand, the conscious mind is what's filled with defenses and excuses and stories and limiting beliefs that aren't true and all these things that we create around our lives. And it's what gets away very often of progress and of healing. So NLP and hypnosis and meditation, they work around this because they do 3 things. The first thing is they strengthen positive subconscious beliefs about healing. So they strengthen our hope for the future and they strengthen our ability to thrive. The second thing that they do is they shift or reframe subconscious beliefs that keep us stuck. So beliefs like, I'm a terrible parent, let's just say. I'm a terrible parent who didn't do enough. And so the shift would come with practice and the person would begin to embrace a different thought. Something like, I'm a parent who loves and who did her best with the resources that I had at the time, in those tough moments. So that's the second thing. So the first thing is we're strengthening those positive beliefs that we already have. And the second thing is we're shifting those subconscious beliefs that keep us stuck. Okay. And then the third thing is that we future pace our subconscious mind to the life we want. One of joy, healing, whatever fulfilling goals that you have for yourself, even though we have this loss in our lives, because we're not going to get rid of that loss, right? This helps us to visualize what it is that we want in our life and how we grow around our loss. And it also increases the chances that we're going to make those choices and behave in those ways that line up with our vision, okay? So we also begin to see things differently in our lives, okay? So that's the third thing. So let me go back to my client, Emma, okay? Let's figure out what happened to her. So she started to dedicate herself to daily hypnosis meditations and NLP exercises, and she began over time to envision her life in a new way, okay? Again, she was doing that daily workout, okay? We don't get strong after day 1. It takes time in a workout. We build up our endurance and strength over time and commitment. So she was envisioning this life in a new way. She gradually and confidently strengthened her mindset. She basically trained her subconscious mind to see herself as worthy, to see herself as confident, to feel the confidence, and to feel hopeful about her ability to heal and have success and love in her life and her relationships. She expanded around her loss. And so these grief bursts still showed up for her. Okay, that's something we don't have control over, but they didn't throw her into a tailspin, and that is so important when you're trying to heal. Okay, she understood these bursts, and she had a stronger capacity to get through them, to bounce back from them with confidence. Okay, and this is what bouncing back is. Okay, she strengthened her mindset and gave it a regular workout. So basically, my resiliency programming is foundational. It's a foundational element throughout my entire grief breakthrough methodology. It practically guarantees that your grief transformation will happen without backsliding, without feeling like you're getting stuck, without feeling like you're starting over every single time you have one of those bad days or one of those intense grief bursts, right? Despite everything that you might already be doing to help yourself. So really, how does it get better than that, right? I started, just to tell you a little bit about myself, I started resiliency reprogramming when I had 3 ambiguous losses that were happening in my own life. My mom was diagnosed with dementia and was already beginning to show those signs cognitively. My youngest had left the nest for college, and I was starting a new job. So I had a lot of ambiguous grief in my life from those 3 areas, okay? So I worked on shifting my thoughts. I dove into subconscious reprogramming, to resiliency reprogramming. I worked on shifting my thoughts about being a good enough daughter to my mom, about having success in my new job, and about my changing role as a parent of a young adult, of 2 young adults actually. Without working on my mindset muscle, all the walking that I love to do, the yoga, the self-help books that I couldn't get enough of, and my determination. I'm a very determined person. Even with all those things, it wouldn't have been enough for me if I didn't work on my mindset. And I truly, truly want to emphasize that. I made peace with these tools. Through these tools that I used, I was able to make peace with my mom's illness. And I was able to love her, love myself, and love our relationship in spite of this dementia. Okay? I now have 2 very successful businesses that I run. And I honestly feel so blessed to have figured out my true purpose with my own grown children. And to have the relationships that I do with them now. Okay? And none of this would have been possible despite all of my commitment, despite all those other things I was doing, if I didn't work on my resiliency mindset muscle, okay? So, that being said, I want to tell you that if you're ready yourself to strengthen your resilient mindset and keep moving forward towards this life that you want to have, okay, in spite of this loss that you're dealing with, and without backsliding, every time you feel those intense waves of grief, every time you have a bad day, I would love to invite you to book a grief breakthrough strategy call with me. Let me tell you how that works. For those of you who have no idea what that is, it's a 30-minute call devoted to you. You have my ears for that 30 minutes and my attention. And when you're in this call with me, we'll talk about where you are in your healing journey and where you'd like to be in 6 months, because that's what I start doing with you right away. It's like, where do you want to be? Okay. What strategies you've tried so far? That's important to me too, to know what you've been putting into your efforts to heal. And so we can figure out what needs to happen. And then also how my resiliency reprogramming can help you, because I know that it can. I'm living proof of that. I'm getting on here sharing and being vulnerable and telling you it made a huge difference in my life. Huge. And that's coming from someone who, as I said, I'm very persistent. I have a strong mental health background. And I will tell you, these tools changed my life. Not to sound cliched, they did. So I'm going to include a calendar link in the replay of the comments here. If you're getting this replay in another way, I'll make sure that you have a way to get my calendar to schedule this call. I promise it'll be worth your time. It has been a true pleasure to connect with you here. And I want you, truly, I want you to experience what I have experienced. My soul's purpose is to help people through loss. Okay, it's what I do. So I'm wishing you all resilience, hope, and healing.